right, yo guys, welcome into episode 87. Hopefully, we're coming through a little crisper than usual. We decided, we got a special guest coming on, or the next special guest coming on, and we wanted to kind of up the production quality from what we were using before. So, I'm Adam. This is Justin as usual, and then we've got Coach Joe, who I think it's been a long time coming that we've been, kind of getting on the mics after talking so much on Twitter.
Yeah, definitely, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's always been cool, I think, to kind of share a ton of opinions on Twitter. And I think, like we talked a little bit about before we went live, we've talked to each other in spaces occasionally, and then sort of you and Christian and Davey, people who probably names are also synonymous with the NYCFC community on Twitter, through your spaces have now naturally kind of transitioned into a podcast, which I think makes a ton of sense based on, you guys, I would be up at like 1 a.m. and I'm like, man, these guys are still in the spaces. And, the game ended at like 8 o'clock or something. And, pop in there, say some words and pop out and stuff. But I think it's been great to get as many voices as possible kind of talking about the team.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, those spaces, like you said, they'd be going for like two and a half hours, and we're still going hard. Like we're still like talking about the game. It hasn't like diverted from like the topics. Like we're still going hard on the content.
Yeah, I mean, it's great. I mean, that is kind of the same way that we sort of came to the conclusion of starting a podcast was like, I think it was COVID when we first started, and we were like obviously in the house way too much like everybody, and we have all these opinions about NYCFC, and we're like, we're kind of getting tired of just like yelling them at each other and talking about stuff. Like, why don't we just put it on a camera and like upload it, and just all of a sudden now we've got you on the show and like talking to a bunch of people on Twitter, and it's been like such a cool experience.
Yeah, I mean, like definitely, like hashtag NYCFC Twitter is awesome because there's so many people who have different opinions and views, and you kind of like just start like your own little community of talking to people, and people that sometimes you meet in real life, and sometimes you only know them by their Twitter handle. Like, it's awesome.
Yeah, we were saying before the show, when it comes to people that we've met in real life, we've met 2 out of 3 of the co-hosts of your podcast, and you're the third that we need to meet in person. So I think 2023 will be the season where we do get to touch base with Coach Joe in person and kind of chop it up at a game.
Yeah, well, and like you said, you want to keep it sober. I think for that one, we may have to just grab a beer and sit down and hash it out. Just talk a little bit. It'd be fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sure.
We can go to Yankee Tavern.
Yeah. So I mean, it's been kind of a big week in NYCFC news, aside from, obviously no incoming player transfers, and the preseason has been lights out in terms of coverage that we're actually getting of it. But to me, the main thing on my mind has kind of been the stadium at the current moment. And obviously, Chris Campbell, very, not notorious, but famous for all of the information that he shares, put out a big article on everything that we've learned from the different people. I believe they had like a big press conference last night about it. And I'm just wondering, we're sort of a few steps removed being fans from Connecticut. And I just wonder if you could share like a little bit of thoughts on what the stadium has meant to you and like coming to fruition after, we've all waited this long, but for you, like it'll really be in your backyard. What is it kind of like?
So that's the other thing is that me and Christian, we live behind enemy lines.
Oh, no.
New
Jersey.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh no.
Well, at least he picked the right side, At least he picked the right.
So we live behind enemy lines. Dobby lives like in it's like right over the border of Jersey, like that, like over like Orange County, around there.
Okay.
So none of us are actually like city proper, right? We're metro, like the metropolitan area.
Metro Star.
I mean, so the problem I'm having with getting hype for the stadium is that to me it's so far in advance.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's not like it's gonna get built in 1 season, 2 seasons, 3. It's like it's so far.
Yeah.
Like it's hard to maintain the hype, the almost anxiety of it happening, because I can't see the finish line. Like I can't see, like nothing's even been, the ground hasn't even been broken yet. Like it's just so hard to think about it happening because it's not close at all. By any means is it not close to happening. So it's hard.
Yeah. I think for us it almost like buys us a little bit of time to hopefully get closer, because even like you being in Jersey, right? It's like it's much closer to us. City Field, when we went sometimes last season, it was like literally 2.5 hours, an hour of it probably stuck in like bumper to bumper traffic trying to get over that bridge. You cross like 2 toll booths that are $10 a piece, and we're like, I don't know how much fun it is going to City Field for us. And then they announced the stadium is going to be built next to it, and we're like, oh shit, we got to get to New York.
Yeah.
You guys aren't even like SoCo. You guys are like You guys are
We're
like
like
healthy.
middle Connecticut.
Yeah,
Cool.
I almost doxed us.
Yeah.
I almost said the town.
Yeah, this street,
The
this house
town,
number.
the town literally has middle in it.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Yeah.
we're literally in the middle.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's fun to kind of go down there and see the games, but it is really tough. And you know, with that site, it does kind of put that fire under us to get closer in one way or another, whether that's lower Connecticut, lower New York, who knows what the future is for that. But
Stanford's a good spot.
yeah,
I believe that's is it Hack stomping grounds? Maybe not Hack. I know Tony
No,
Roche
Hack
has been
is
hanging
from
out
New
around
York.
there too.
he's from Bushwick, right?
Oh, yeah, you're right. You're right. It's
think Jason-
somebody though.
Or-
Jason, you said? Yeah. I think it is Jason, yeah. But yeah, I mean, like you said, that is kind of, you know, what's been on our mind for the
Yeah, well,
stadium.
I've kind of got just not really an NYCFC question, but so everyone knows the legend now that is Coach Joe on Twitter. But we just learned something right now. I wanted to give a little background as to the human that is Coach Joe, so that we can kind of bring you to a human level, because sometimes people can see your takes on Twitter and kind of take it to a non-human level, and I think it's important to put some information to the human, so that we can see you as that.
Yeah.
So what is like, I guess, the background? You know, what is the background for Coach Joe? Have you been? I would assume, are you like a season ticket holder member? Have you been around the team forever?
So I was a season ticket holder in 2018. It was my one and only year as a season ticket holder.
Nice. Do you typically, when you go to games, what do you like to do? Do you like to be like kind of in a supporter section, or like, you know, somewhere around the stadium?
When I first started going to games, I took in some games in the supporter section, but I prefer to have, I mean, I call it like a coach's view. So I prefer to sit in like 227A, 50-yard line, so I can see everything that's happening. I can see off sides. I have an elevated view, so I can see everything that's happening before it's happening, things like that. Like that's I can't be too close, but I also can't be too far. So like the reason why I stopped being a season ticket holder was because like if I wanted season tickets in 230, whatever, it was going to be like enough money that I wasn't going to be able to afford it. So I buy single game tickets. So like, yeah, the Derby tickets are higher because they price check that. But if I'm going to watch like them play against like DC United, or whatever, the tickets are usually pretty cheap.
Yeah, I think we're basically the same way.
My first ever game was I believe it was the second home game against SKC.
Okay.
In 2015 was my first ever game attending. The inaugural home game against New England was just the tickets like impossible to get. Yeah, I went to one game and I was hooked. I was like inject this right into my and we lost that game 1-0 on an Iko Para header off of like a throw in or something like that. It was insane. And David Villa didn't even play that match. I think he was out. I don't think he played that match. But yeah, ever since that game, I was just completely all in, full in, and was watching every game after that.
So what about it got you hooked on that game? Was it the environment, the game itself, the team?
Yeah, it was at Yankee Stadium. It was like going to the game. It felt authentically New York. Like obviously growing up in New Jersey, born and bred. Back in the 90s when I was going through adolescence and through childhood, I was a Metro Stars fan because my club, the club that I played for, we would go to Metro's games at the old Giants Stadium. I like back in the 90s when I was growing up, like we couldn't get European games on television. So like I wasn't really watching any soccer other than when you can occasionally find an MLS game on or something like that. So I was a Metros fan growing up. I had a few jerseys. I had some like autographed of my club's jersey was autographed by a bunch of Metros guys back in like 90, 96, 97. And then I kind of was like once they did the corporate takeover of Red Bull, I was like, because I don't even like Red Bull like the drink. Like I think it's when you guys see me tweet out saying that I think it's what do I call it? like it's like biohazard horse urine. It's legitimately the grossest thing I've ever drank in my life. I would not want to wear clothes that have the crap emblazoned on it if you paid me money, I would not wear that shit. So I couldn't get on board with it. I couldn't get on board with the corporate takeover, especially because like I thought the New York Metro Stars were like it was a good brand. Like it was New York, New Jersey. At least in 95, 96, it was NY/NJ. So it kind of encompassed both states and the metro area and the Metro Stars. Like it felt kind of authentic for as much as you could be back in 95, 96. And then what was it? Was it 2010 when they converted over to Red Bull?
I think around then.
Yeah, and I couldn't get on board with it. So I was I was like a football free agent. I didn't really have fanship once they became Red Bulls. I couldn't do it anymore. And then I was so I went to West Virginia University for my grad school.
Nice. And
I worked with the soccer team there. I was a volunteer graduate assistant with the men's soccer team there. They're Division I. My roommate when I was there, coincidentally, was the captain of the team. His name is Ray Gaddis. And in 2012, so I got there in 2011, and in 2012, he had graduated because he was a senior, and he got drafted into the MLS. Who did he get drafted by? The Philadelphia Union. So I wasn't a Philadelphia Union because I hate Philly. I hate the Eagles. I hate Philly, filthy Philly. I hate Philly. But I was kind of a supporter of him playing for Philly. So I was going down there to games a lot to watch him play. And then in 2014, NYCFC got announced, and I was like, okay, so I moved back to Jersey after I graduated, and I was like, okay, this is something that I want to get involved with. A new team coming to MLS, and it's New York City proper. They're going to play at Yankee Stadium. So that's kind of my origin story on how I got involved with NYCFC. And then obviously I made sure that it was okay with Ray. I was like, hey, I'm still going to support you as a player and your career, but like I'm all in on NYCFC. So like when we play, I'm really hoping for like a 3-3 draw.
Yeah. And then it's funny how the rivalry that is Philly and NYCFC from both teams being so good for a couple of years now and meeting each other in the playoffs, how that has kind of developed. But it's funny, yeah, I was going to ask you, like, in the meantime, waiting between that 2010 and the 2015 of NYCFC initially kicking off, what kind of, like, filled the void of needing some kind of soccer? Because it seemed like soccer has been a big part of your life, but you kind of answered that. I feel like I think that's a more interesting origin story than maybe a lot of people like ours. I think typically we went the typical maybe American route where it's like if you're not playing soccer, then you probably find your way in through like a European league, probably the BPL that you get into, and ultimately like the passion is really lying in the USMNT. And then at some point, if like an MLS team catches you, then it's kind of like, oh, all right, you're into like the US soccer system now. You're deeper than a casual fan, and I feel like in that way that's kind of been both of our ways getting into the team. A little opposed. I've come from a Man City background. Although, the group chat of our friends will let you know the first year, like in soccer a lot, I was a Chelsea fan. But once, I think the same thing you said, once NYCFC came into the picture, it was like, all right, anything that is associated with them, that is now where my fandom kind of lies. I'll take on Man City. I'll take on NYCFC, obviously, as the most passionate that I'm focusing on and that I want to watch and stuff. And then we've got the Manchester United boy over here who's like them kind of all his life. So it does create for an interesting dynamic because we do agree on most things for NYCFC, but if you saw the text going back and forth to each other about the BPL, you would just be disgusted by what you're reading.
Honestly, like that format would fit the Coach Show Uncensored because it is completely different than what we do for NYCFC. Like if we ever one day did create a podcast that was either Premier League or European based, it would be bad for the brand. Genuinely, it would be bad for the brand.
And then our best friend, if we were ever to have a show and get him on the mic too, is then a Liverpool fan. So you're adding just like an X factor into two X factors.
Yeah, it's not famous because we only know about it, but there's a picture of us at the bar from like I think your last year in college.
Yeah, and
it's me in the United kit, him in the City kit, and then our other friend in the Liverpool kit, and it's just kind of like, yeah, of course this is gonna be
how did we find each other?
Water and oil every time we talk about the Prem.
Yeah,
but yeah, I think that's a super cool origin story. I think I didn't really even watch MLS up until I believe there was a final, and Portland was in it. and I think Valeri scored like some insane goal, and I just happened to be flipping through TV,
Mm-hmm.
and it was like it stopped right at the moment of that goal, and I was like hooked instantly, and I was like, okay, this might be a serious thing, and that's when I really got into the MLS. And then I think it was like a year after that, that NYCFC came along, and we were in Connecticut, just kind of these free agents, like you mentioned, and um, didn't identify with the Revs at all. Just I'm not a Pats fan. We're not in Boston. Like it just didn't connect, and there's just something about everything in the beginning of NYCFC that we really were drawn to. So
Yeah.
it's cool.
I think one of the things that draw it's that you're on the ground floor.
Yep.
Like you're there from day one. Like there's not a lot of people who can say like, hey, I've been here since before we had a logo, since before we signed a player. Like we've experienced everything, and that's why like I was at the kit launch, not the kit launch. I was at the kit preview in the city with the third rail event, and there was a guy there who was there for the same thing, and he just became a fan of NYCFC like a little like since right before the cup.
Mm-hmm.
Like so he's relatively new. So like I was like I'm over there talking. I'm like oh you gotta go back and watch like this and that because like these are like core memories of like that's built up like the rivalry with the Red Bulls and the rivalry with the Union didn't really reach the levels that it's kind of hit now until like the past couple of years because the Union were perennial wooden spoon contenders for like the first few years of us being in the league. Like they were bad. They were not playoff team. They were not good. That's why our record, if you look at our record versus them, it's very lopsided because we would just beat the crap out of them in the early years. And just recently they've gotten good and it's kind of almost leveled out a little bit. But like I was like, you got to go back and watch this and this because this is going to build like your fandom even higher because like there's just now when you're watching a game you're going to know all the history and it's just going to add to your viewing experience.
Yeah, definitely.
So
and I know
cool, like, you're just coming into it now.
Yeah, like you said, the Philly kind of rivalry is fairly new. I remember when they were in the early days trying to force the Orlando rivalry on us, and it was just because we were two expansion teams, and there was really nothing in it back then. I think if anything more during the COVID Cup and things like that, it kind of got a little heated. But there was never really that rivalry. I think they were just trying to force that onto us, and it's not nice because I mean, you don't like having somebody that you hate, but at the end of the day, it's nice to have a natural, real rivalry now with Philly and with Red Bulls. Kind of when they decide to fight back. I mean, lately it's not really been that much.
Yeah, we can't say anything about them until we start leveling out the overall record.
Yeah,
the thing
because
with that is,
even us winning a cup, all they want to talk about is 7-0, 7-0, Red Wedding. That's all they want to talk about. So we have to give them more shit to shut up about. Like, hey, we have a championship and we've won more games in the series.
Right. Well, not only that, but I mean, we've got a pretty heavy 1-0 in the cup. The cup debate. I mean, it's heavy. That has a lot of weight to it. I feel way more than a 7-0. But
yeah. Well, I mean, I think the big teller with that too is I think they have like 26 years in the league, and we were able to swoop in and do it in as quick as we did. But I think that starts like a interesting conversation. I know that you're really high on sort of considering teams like Toronto maybe a rival. And obviously we just saw Sean go there, and we'll get into the mass exodus of players. It almost feels like it's a new ground floor experience if anybody is like a new NYCFC fan to get in, and like you're going to be starting on a new playing field with all of us other fans basically, because right now we've retained for big players like Keaton and Tales.
Right. I mean, it's as close to NYCFC when we started. I think I'm not talent wise. These guys are 20 times better than our initial roster. Maybe excluding David Villa, because you take David Villa in this team any day.
Yeah.
But yeah, 20 times better. But it's that feeling where it's like, this is brand new.
Yeah. So I wonder what are your feelings with Sean going to Toronto? A team that you really considered to be a big rival, which I would agree with you on that.
Yeah, I mean, I consider Toronto a rival because of regionality. They're close, right? But also because of recent result. Like, I mean, was anybody else really pissed off and left the stadium? Is this wait? Do you have the E rating? Can I curse or no?
Yeah, if you want to.
We kind of slip. I mean, we slip up every once in a while. It just is what it is.
Um, but like left the stadium. What was it 19 with
We were
the
there.
Ronald Metzger incident that we won't talk about? Like
Yep.
that. Like I was like we were a really good team that year, and that left a really sour taste. Like we left the stadium like pissed that
Mhm.
happened, and we couldn't believe that it happened. Like we left like we were awestruck. Like we could not believe that Matarrita would make that tackle in the 90th plus minute or whatever in a playoff game. Like when he didn't need to, he had three. Like it was just whatever. But like so that amped up, and then on top of that, like Giovinco and Pozuelo doing his Hernandez. Like Toronto's they're a bona fide like rival contender. Like they're up there. We don't like them. Like that, and that's what makes a rivalry is if you genuinely just don't like the franchise, like you because of what's happened. So because of like Orlando feels manufactured because of it's just the only or prior to the crazy playoff loss.
Right.
It was just the fact that we both came in together. So we were like sister clubs or sister franchises that came in at the same time.
Yep.
And that was like the only talking point. But now with that PK, I mean, now there's another level to it. But yeah, I mean, so with Sean going, it just like I've been talking about it. Like if Sean wanted to go back home to Chicago, fine, okay. You started there. You wanted the prodigal son returns home to do good. Like that makes sense. That's a good storyline. If he wanted to go to Atlanta, because that's where he grew up, go to Atlanta. Like Brad Guzan is like 100 years old. They need a better keeper there anyway. Like go to okay, he's going back home to where his family is, and that makes sense. Going to Toronto that doesn't make any sense to me. He's literally going there to chase trophies with the Toronto Italians. That's what he's going there for. It's not for this last big payday. He's made a shit ton of money. He's been in the league forever.
Yep.
It's not like he's not going to be making he's not making like DP money there. It's a TAM deal. So he's just going there because he's like Kevin Durant just got traded last night. He's a fucking snake, and he's just going there to win a trophy. And he sees that they have a better roster than we do right now, and he's just going there to win. And that's not what legends do. Legends don't do that. So like I'm fully in the side that like this tarnishes his legacy as an MLS player. Like he's chasing glory. He's a glory chaser, and he's just going somewhere where they have a better setup. And then he's I mean yeah, like that. I hate when people start do a 180 and start acting differently. So like Sean was when he was here, yeah, he's for the city, like plays for the badge, would bleed for the badge, and then now he goes to Toronto, and less than a week later, he's talking shit about baseball field, looking forward to playing in a real stadium, blah blah blah. Want to win the cup, coming in like so. It just shows that like most footballers are fake. They're fake. They're fake. They're only loyal enough to whoever's signing off on their paychecks, and he doesn't give a shit about New York City. So I hope when we play them that we put in 3, 4, 5 goals on him. And I hope it's one of the worst losses he's ever suffered as a professional. And if we were to build a Mount Rushmore, Johnson's face is not there. I mean, yeah, thank you for winning us a cup, making the penalty saves, but like it's a bad look. It's a bad look.
So with like you had mentioned, like a figurative Mount Rushmore, would he have been there had he made another move and kind of acted more respectfully?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. If he, like I said, if he made a move down to Atlanta, made a move to Chicago, that's understandable. And that thought process checks off. Like it's like, okay, I understand. I have no understanding of him wanting to move to Canada, uproot he has a girlfriend, and he's just uprooting his life and moving to Toronto. That doesn't check out to me. He's literally just going there, and I guarantee the money hasn't come out yet, but I can guarantee you that he's not making like crazy insane because the MLS doesn't pay keepers like that. They don't pay keepers.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I mean,
I think I'd have to agree. And when we look at the Mount Rushmore conversation, I think where it hurts Sean is that we have had probably 5 to 6 to 7 impactful players that could be in the conversation, and it's tough to fit him in, especially as a keeper. You know, you look at his highlights, obviously saving the penalty against New England and then saving the 2 against Portland are indescribable moments when those things happen, and so unlikely to ever happen again in the biggest stage of his career. But I agree with you. I mean, if I look at my NYCFC Mount Rushmore, right, I'm going to put Tati on there. I'm going to put a Collins on there, and I'm probably going to have to put a Maxi on there. And then if we look at the rest of every NYCFC player that's existed, I mean, I think there is potentially a few that come before Sean. Probably a David Villa, and obviously if we're taking character into consideration with Sean, we would probably have to do the same thing with Villa. In which case I wouldn't really want to put him up there. But I mean, if we are just talking about performances and production, I don't think that Sean could crack the top four. And part of that is because of his position. You get kind of screwed when you're a goalkeeper and you have people that can bang in goals and assists like it's nobody's business. A goalkeeper that lets in almost no goals versus somebody scoring out of their mind, you're always going to take the guy because it's more flashy.
Now, I will say one thing. If NYCFC actively told Sean, like, we don't want you, like, go.
Yeah.
Then, okay, then that's kind of free reign for him. But, like, we were trying. I firmly believe that, I mean, yeah, it may not have been, like, a fantastic offer because, once again, he's a goalkeeper, an aging goalkeeper. Was he 33?
Yes.
I realize I'm a soccer coach, so I know that goalkeepers can play longer. Like their peak is a little bit later than your average field player. But 33 is still pushing it for a non-elite goalkeeper. Sean's not an elite goalkeeper.
Mm-hmm.
If he was an elite goalkeeper, he'd be playing in Europe. He's playing in the MLS. So he's I mean, obviously he's a third choice American goalkeeper for a World Cup squad. But he's an American goalkeeper who plays in the domestic league. And he's 33. So I mean, but we did make an offer for him. It may not have been a DP offer or a high TAM offer, but I'm sure it was a offer. And in my mind, someone who has club legend status, what should have transpired was you stay with NYCFC, you groom your heir, you help groom like Barraza or whoever is behind you into a potential keeper. You retire with the club, and then maybe take a position with the club as an ambassador or something like that afterwards. And that's what a legend does. That's what, I mean, you look at Diego Valeri with Portland. I mean, I don't think it happened now, but what was supposed to happen is he ended his career at Portland, went back to Argentina for a year or two, played 1 year with his hometown club, and then he was supposed to come back and have a job in the Portland front office as an ambassador. I don't know what happened there because didn't it get announced that Diego Valeri is one of the Apple commentators for Apple Plus?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, so I don't know what happened with Portland with the front office position, but he is coming back to work for Apple Plus. But that's what a legend does. That's how a legend is supposed to act, in my mind, at least. I mean, I'm allowed to. It's my opinion. I mean, anybody can feel free to disagree, but that's what I think should have transpired. That's how you cement the status as a club legend.
I think what happened was, he kind of reached this peak of his career after this last season. And no, it didn't end the way that we wanted it to. But he came off of an MLS Cup. He goes and wins the Campeones Cup. He's finally in the conversation, at least, to be a national team keeper. And I think he got all of that into his head and thought, I need to go make whatever the best deal is where I'll have some eyes on me to kind of win this job. And I just think he was wrong in that thinking. I don't think he's going to be the starting keeper. I think that's a job that's way outside of his hands. I think you can name probably 3 other guys that are starting quality, and he's not it. And that's no knock to him. There's just better quality out there. I just think all of those things got to his head, and he made the wrong decision at the end of the day.
Yeah. So then, I mean, keeping on the keeper topic, I wonder what your thoughts are about the guys that we have on the roster now. Obviously, we don't have a ton of footage or a ton of knowledge on what Matt Freese is, although, very electric LA Galaxy preseason game from what we got to hear of it. But we have been blessed that we've seen a lot of Barraza because of Sean's ability to go and, ride the bench for the men's national team. So what are the thoughts on Barraza?
So we're in a unique time with NYCFC because we haven't had this exact situation since 2017. Mm-hmm. Like we had 15 and 16 was Josh Saunders, and then from 17 on was Sean Johnson. So we haven't had any type of controversy or anything at the goalkeeper position for a long time.
Yep.
With Barraza, I mean, he wasn't drafted very highly coming out of college, in the MLS Super Draft. We've seen him a little bit. I'm not overly impressed with, and also I'm not overly impressed with his goalkeeping abilities. Now, as a goalkeeper, your first job is to be a shot stopper, to be a keeper of the net. I know a lot of people are going to talk about, Barraza has great ability with his feet. Yep. He can distribute well. That's not his first job. His first job is to stop the ball from going in the net. And from what I've seen and from what we have seen, because Barraza's gotten some go in the U.S. Open Cup, and some spot duty here and there when Johnson's not around. And I'm not sold. I'm not like, oh my God, like he is our next keeper. Like it's average. Like it's like, okay, he lets in some really soft goals. Yeah, he has good feet, but I mean, we need to keep it to like one or a shutout to get a win in soccer typically, and he has not shown the ability to do that. He lets in goals at a pretty good clip, like when he gets shutouts, but then when he doesn't get a shutout, and it's kind of like what Sean Johnson does. When Sean leads the league or like was close to leading the league in shutouts, but when he wasn't getting shutouts, he was letting in goals, like a lot, and they were getting let in by a decent clip.
Yeah.
So and then with Freese, I mean, all I know about Freese is from what most people only know about is that we scored the game-winning goal on him in the Eastern Conference Final when he had a depleted, COVID-riddled back line, and we moved on and won a championship because of it. Obviously, huge PK save in the preseason scrimmage against the LA Galaxy. I'm firmly in the camp that preseason games do matter. Results do matter in the preseason because winning and losing are both contagious. If we would have headed into this Coachella Valley, or even if we would have lost and tied all of our games and even had a crap showing in Coachella, we would not be rolling into Nashville with any type of confidence whatsoever. So getting a win against the Galaxy was really good for I believe for the morale and just for the confidence of some of these young players who we're deploying a lot of young players in the preseason. But I mean, Freese made another nice save in the game as well. Pretty much picked the ball out of going near post upper 90, nice save. And then the PK save, and I'm the type of sicko where I screenshot the PK and then I'm dragging it in slow motion because I want to see everything that he's doing before it struck. So like he read it, like he was going to his left before he even planted, before Douglas Costa even planted his right foot in the ground to know that he was. I mean, because he's left-footed kicker. So like Freese, I don't know if and like some people say it's guessing. No, it's like goalkeeping is an art. Like you can read the hips and the approach angle and all that stuff. So he read it like a book. He was moving left before he even struck the ball, and the ball was hit at a really good height for the keeper to just get really big and make the save. And that's like I believe that this year we're gonna ride with the hot hand. Whoever gets hot is gonna keep the spot. And then if we have maybe a couple bad games in a row where we start conceding goals like it's our job, then they're gonna have to make a change. So I believe that we're gonna kind of go by goalkeeper by committee for the first little bit of the season, and whoever is performing and doing well is going to stay in there. Now I realize, I mean, I don't know how Freese's feet are, but I also don't know if we're going to commit to the City way of playing the ball out the back, because we're going to have all these inexperienced pieces because we lost so many mainstays of our lineup this offseason that I don't know if we can commit to playing out the back because you have Alexander Collins was arguably one of the best ball carrying center backs in MLS history. That dude had the ball at his feet constantly and was not afraid to carry the ball into the middle third and then into the attacking third and kind of serve as like a cam center back. Just some ridiculous stuff. So we don't have anybody like that anymore. Like Maxime Chanel is not carrying the ball like that. Tony Alfaro, we don't know much about. And Thiago Martins, I mean, I wasn't high on him when he came in. He was really, really bad his first month with us. He got better, but I'm still not like oozing confidence that he's like going to be the heir to the center back pairing that was Collins and Chanel. But yeah, so to rewind it back to the goalkeepers, I think we're going committee until someone steps up and takes it and just proves that they're going to be our starting keeper. What do you guys think?
Yeah, no, I think I probably agree, and I liked your little points about the preseason. I'm also in the camp of believing that preseason it carries a lot of weight, especially when you do have the young guys and the inexperienced players. I think when you have guys that haven't been there before, even just as regular starters in an MLS season, and now they're going to be kind of thrust into that position or even thrust into depth roles that they've never been in before. Maybe they're like their weekly MLS Next Pro people. They're going to live and die on morale and on motivation and on consistency. And like you said, I think it can get in your head, especially as a young team. If you lose every single preseason game, there's no way you're not having some type of self-doubt conversation, especially if you were at some point a part of giving up a goal maybe, or a part of a bad play, a miscommunication, maybe like with Barraza and Chanot in the game, where that
Yeah.
kind of creeps into your mind when you are on the actual field and all the pressure is on you in a way that it hasn't been before. And you have 6 losses to lean on as opposed to 4 wins and 2 losses or 6 wins or something like that. So I would have to agree with you in that case. I do think the very early ones that Cushing even notably mentioned, he's playing around with lineups. We've got Maximo Carrizo in there. Obviously, I don't think anybody foresees him playing a ton of minutes for us, if any, during the actual regular season. But there's something to be said about winning preseason games, like having a winner's mentality.
Yeah, no, it just goes a lot to building culture, building confidence, building, your style. Because, realistically, as much as you would love to pull in style and everything like that from last season, with so many people exiting, it's essentially gone, and it goes away. Even if we kept all of our players, there would be some level of regression that you would see. So it really goes to just building that confidence in each other, and knowing, like, in Keaton's, you can kind of see these guys getting into a mindset of like, oh, it's me now, right? There's a few guys who I feel are gonna feel that way, with everyone leaving, that they're gonna feel like, okay, this is all on me. I've got to carry the weight of this team. I've got to be the person that produces. And preseason really can show you, like, oh no, I forgot, Thiago can actually shoot a ball. Like, he can actually dribble. He's in this team. The guys around me actually do contribute. These are all guys that made the last team better, in one way or another. So I think it just really goes to that confidence.
Well, I think that's a good point too. I didn't even consider it when you think at players potentially being concerned about losing people as well. And I think it can be a domino effect at times. I think when Tati took off, that kind of set the motion that we were going to lose a lot of our core players. When you have somebody that's that invested in the locker room, I think Maxi was probably morale wise
one of the biggest.
Killed when Tati left, and then everybody was killed when Maxi leaves. And like you said, that could leave a hole where a Matty or a Tiago, these sort of more average players that you can put in and get the job done, as long as you have a few superstars dotted throughout. When they don't have those guys to lean on, it may affect their play too. And I thought it was funny because in the second press conference, Alfredo said that he thinks that we need more players, and I'm not sure that I ever heard a player say that about their own team, like in any sport ever. So I thought it was really telling, sort of to the mindset, especially with him as a senior player. Most likely not the captain, but up there in the totem pole of guys that have weight in that locker room to kind of say that, especially publicly, to the media.
Yeah, I mean, because you look at the preseason roster and it's like it's bare bones.
Who's on it? who are
Yeah,
these
and
people?
obviously, like every preseason, they bring a lot of like academy / now with the NYCFC 2, but like there's some surprises. Like I haven't seen a picture or a video of Brodilio Rodriguez.
Yep.
I don't think I've seen MD Myers, and these are guys that we took in the MLS Super Draft who were on the initial roster to go out to go down to Florida for the first leg of preseason. I haven't seen them in anything. I follow them on Instagram, and I don't even think they're. I think that's the other thing. Like I hate the lack of transparency. I don't even think they're with the team anymore.
Mm.
We don't. But that wasn't made clear. I mean, obviously, because they don't have to tell us, because technically they're not getting cut because they were never under contract to begin with. They were selected in a draft, but they had no contract.
Yep.
So they're trialists, technically, I guess, is what you would consider them. But like we were thin, and then now like MD Myers is a striker midfield, like a striker winger, and then Rodilio Rodriguez is another striker winger. So that's a position we're super thin at. And if we're letting these guys go, like, is somebody else coming in because Gabe Segal, like, and Talis, and that's about it.
Yeah, I think it's unnerving to not really know, and they've done a really good job at not letting us know this season. I think this
Always.
is like,
I mean, it's like the story of NYCFC.
I know,
to like
it just
not
feels,
show their cards to anybody.
Maybe because there's so many question marks and so many people gone that it feels like there's less info now than there ever has been. But like, I genuinely feel more in the dark now going into the season than I ever have, and that's scary. Like, I don't know, if I'm Nick Cushing, I don't know how I'm even using Talis at this point. Like, I have no I have nothing to go on to kind of feel confident about where Tallis is really going to be played outside of the 9. But what way is he going to play the 9? I these are some of the questions that I'm thinking of, and we're just in the dark.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he performed that great at the 9 last year. And then a lot of people think that his best position is on left wing. But then I've also heard rumblings that people think that he could play the 9, or sorry, the 10. So I'm just like, well, like, where is Tallis Magno going to play? Like, where's the best place for him to play? But like when you watch him, he doesn't have like that it factor that you look for in a 9, like that I'm going to score a goal. I'm going to will myself to scoring a goal. It's the it factor that David Villa had. It's the it factor that Tati developed and then had. Like we went into every game knowing, like back from 15 to 18 or whatever David was here. Like we went to a game knowing like, okay, Villa's going to score today. When is it going to happen? But it's going to happen. Like we knew he was going to score. And then like the last 2 years with Tati when we had him, it was like, okay, Tati's going to get a goal today. Like when is it going to happen? Like we knew he was going to score. And we knew Villa was going to score. And now it's super scary the last year-ish going in and being like, are we going to score today?
So do you imagine that Tallis is poised to have this big breakout season? I feel like that's kind of the vibe around the community. I mean, even the MLS put out a tweet, who is going to break out this season. And then I saw, Davey, I think, said Tallis. We saw Michael Allen say Tallis. We've talked about on this show with some guests that Tallis seems to be a shoo-in for breaking out. Is that the feeling that you have as well?
It's really not, because I mean, once again, I go back and like I posted a video after Michael Allen posted that. I posted a video of the replay of LA Galaxy where Tallis is played in by Thiago Andrade and dribbles into 4 defenders, gets dispossessed very easily, and then looks relatively disinterested in the fact that he was dispossessed and is kind of just jogging. Like that doesn't like exude confidence that in him for me. If there's a player who I think is on the preface of breaking out, which is scary because he's not here right now, is Gabi Pereira. He's the one who I look at and like, this dude can score. Like, I mean, but the other problem, like the problem is the same problem I have with Thiago Andrade and Tallis Magno. They're painfully right-footed. I have the same problem with Gabi Pereira, is that he's painfully left-footed. Professional soccer players are supposed to be able to play with both feet and play with both feet well. Especially, and I have a higher expectancy of Brazilians because those down there, they eat, breathe, sleep, eat again, football, soccer. Like they're outside with no shoes on, with a ball made out of nothing, and they're just out there playing. So like I have a higher expectancy of a Brazilian to be pretty good with both feet and to be pretty silky on the ball, dribbling and stuff like that. And I'm watching little videos of Thiago Andrade like doing like little juggling stuff with the other Brazilians and the other players, and he's just using his right foot every time. Going, the ball's on his left, he swings over and uses his right foot again to pop it back. Like it's right foot every time. And then also there was a replay in the LA Galaxy game. Thiago was in on goal and then had to cut it back onto his right foot to shoot, and it got knocked out for a corner kick. Like in that, like if that's MLS play, like that ball needs to get finished. Like I don't care if it's on your left foot, put the ball in the back of the net. That's what you get paid to do. By any means necessary, put the ball in the back of the net. And it's just like I don't see a guy who we can lean on to score. I don't see it right now in Tallis Magno. Now, please, like Tallis, if you're watching, please prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. Make me eat my words. Prove me wrong, please. Because we need somebody who can score goals. We need somebody who we can lean on a little bit, especially with these young guys, to score goals consistently, semi-consistently.
So is there a player in the lineup that you have that mindset about that is going to have a year for us?
Gabi Pereira, if he ever comes back from Brazil.
Okay.
I think watching Gabi, it's because Tallis is really tall, and so is Thiago. Like they're a bit clunky because they're so tall. They don't move fluidly. They're not quick. They're fast in long spurts, but they're not quick in short spurts. And for NYCFC, we're used to a smaller statured player. We haven't had. I mean, I know Keaton Parks, we call him Big Bird because he's like 6'3" in the midfield. He's huge. But we're used to having David Villa was like what, like 5'10", 5'8", 5'9", like he's short, and he's a short little guy, and he's really quick, and he can accelerate real fast, create that half yard of space, put the ball in the back of the net. Tati being 5'10", shorter player, a little bit. I mean, he wasn't as fast, but he was quick. And then Maxi, super short, 5'3". Alexander Matrica, super short. Ismail Tajiri-Shradi, short. Like, they're all shorter players. Shorter attacking players has been like our go-to since our inception. We haven't had these. I mean, Joe Ingebrigtset, Adam Nemec, they're all tall, but they didn't do well for us.
Yeah.
They all flopped.
So like our MO is to have these short, little, pacey, agile attackers. Gabriel Pereira fits that mold. I think that he could flourish in our system. Thiago Andrade and Thales Magno, they're not our prototypical players. They're not guys that we have gotten in the past. They're different. They're taller. Thiago Andrade might help with hold-up play because he's taller and probably a little bit stronger. And maybe like one of the reasons that Tati was so phenomenal for us is because he was so willing and so able to jump very, very high and win those flick-on headers off of long punts to flick it onto our wingers and run on in. He could jump so high. And that was one of the reasons why, I know that you guys are familiar with my hatred for Hebert. Yeah. Hebert's unwillingness to win anything in the air because he did not jump whatsoever. He did not leave the ground ever. So he didn't really fit in the way that we were flourishing with Tati. They were very different styled strikers. But yeah, I definitely think that Gabi is poised for a breakout year. That was my long-winded way of saying that.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting. I almost feel like Cushing may be on the path of changing up what we saw the team, or changing up what the team looked like last year between what we see this year, because of the personnel that we have. You do, in a way, you have to plan for the guys that you have, and when you don't have all these people filling these roles that you typically do, then you just switch things up. And like we mentioned earlier with the formations, early preseason games, he said he's switching things up, trying different formations and stuff. So it'll be really interesting to see if we're going to end up doing our 4 in our back, or 5 or 5-3, kind of as it goes. Do you have a feeling on what you would like to see out of our players and out of Cushing based on our personnel?
Yeah, I'd like to see, I'd like to see when decisions are made, and then it's kind of off topic of the question, but I'd like to see when things are clearly going wrong. I'd like to see Nick Cushing quickly putting out those fires and quickly making those tough decisions. I don't want to. If Thiago is doing nothing but 40-yard dashes for 90 minutes straight, I don't want to see that for 8 games, 9 games straight.
Yeah.
I think 3 games and that's done, and we're finding another solution. I don't want things to get stagnant in that way, and I don't want, if we do come out really, really direct and we're just whipping in balls, again, if that's not working for 3-4 games, we need to switch it up quickly. We need to make quick decisions, because otherwise we're going to end up in a situation where we're 1-4 or whatever. Like, it could get really ugly really fast. And I just really want quick decisions. Tactically, I'd like to see attempts at playing towards people's true skills. So I don't think Thales is a traditional number 9. I just don't see it in him. I'd like us to try out a false 9. I think it's something that would benefit Thales. I think it's something that benefits our team as a whole, to get Thales in a position where he can make plays. But if that doesn't work out, again, 3 games and it's done. Like, we're not playing BS. We're making those quick decisions. Yeah.
In a false 9, then that would put more pressure to perform on our wingers.
Right.
Because if he's coming in deep in that midfield, then our wingers are going to have to start producing like a lot, because they're going to be making runs off of him winning those balls.
Right, and I can see that, playing into the strengths of Thiago, which is being faster than everyone else on the team and kind of having a one-on-one or, a passing opportunity to Gabby. I just think that'd be the best route to go. Like, I want to see that game 1. If it doesn't work, game 2, get rid of it, put it on my head, and that's fine. Clip me on Twitter, that's cool.
I'm interested in that because, the hot take that people have been on Twitter have been talking about is the 10 position, right? Because Maxi's gone, Santi's gone, and then now in our midfield we're kind of stuck with Justin Hack, Keaton Parks, Alfredo Morales. That's who we have. That's our depth. That's everyone. That's everyone who's had senior level playing time in the center midfield. So, and then people have been saying like, oh, so speculation about, oh, Keaton Parks is going to play the 10. Keaton Parks is not a 10. He's not a 10.
Yeah.
He's an 8. And he's a good 8, but he's an 8.
8 feet tall.
Yeah, he's 8 feet tall. He's not a 10. He's an 8. He box to box all day. But he's not just going to hang out up top and just start and start playing line breaking passes. Although he does have a very, I mean, I've seen the stats from Soup and NYCFC that when he has the ball at his feet, good things happen. But but if we're to play Tallis in a false 9, I like that because then that probably means that we're playing with the absence of a 10. Right. And because in theory, the way that our roster is constructed right now, we're kind of constructed to play without a 10 because we don't have a 10.
Yep.
And you don't want to force someone into a position that's not going to bring out the best in their abilities. So if we play without a true 10, then we can play with just a 6-8 pairing of Parks and Alfredo Morales, and then have Justin Hack come off the bench because I'm very firmly in the camp that Justin Hack is not a starting caliber player at the current moment for NYCFC.
Correct.
In no way, shape, or form should Justin Hack be starting games for NYCFC at this moment.
I think he can though. I think he can be worked to that point. But yeah, I think you're right in the fact that he's not there right now.
Yes.
Well, I think the most telling thing was the Montreal game when he had to come in for Chanot.
Right.
It was, I mean, obviously we're switching from a Chanot to a Justin Hack in most likely the biggest game that Hack has ever played in his life. But I think you're right. It was a little bit of shell shock. It was obviously an extreme loss of quality, despite how much Chanot tried to coach him up. But I think we end up seeing him play more in that James Sands role in our team if Cushing is going to employ tactics to allow for it. I mean, there's ways that we could configure the team that we could have 3 midfielders, and it's going to be your Keaton and your Alfredo, and then your Hack and your 6. And like you said, there's nobody else. So if we're going to field that team, Hack is going to have to start. And I just wonder, is there anything about his game that you do like? I think that's an easy question, or an easier question than if you were to list everything that you don't.
I mean, to be brutally honest, no. There's nothing about his game that, like, I'm like, oh, he deserves to be here. Oh, he can hang at this level.
Yeah.
His passing, I believe, is below average. His tackling is not fantastic. And sometimes he gets big boyed off the ball. Like, he gets big boyed in the midfield, like just by older players who are a little more savvy and a little bit just bigger because they're in their mid 30s and not in their early 20s.
Yep.
Yeah.
How old is Hack? 20? Is he 19? How old is he?
I believe 21. 21. Yeah, 21.
He's young. I mean, he's still growing into his body. I mean, definitely the one thing I noticed is that he has gotten bigger. Over the course of his 4 years, the past 3-4 years with us, his legs have gotten big. Like he's looking more like a professional footballer and not like some little academy kid.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I go back to when Sands was kind of starting with us, and he had that problem where he was getting body too. And I think one of our first episodes we were like, Sands, get in the gym. Like, you need to go lift weights, drink your milk, like eat your PB and bananas. Like, you really need to put on some weight. Hack has the same problem, but I think he does show spurts of being, a really good player. Like, you see sometimes he tackles and you're like, wow, that's a great tackle. It's not consistent. And I think his confidence on the ball, he's very confident. And I think in your opinion, you'd be like, well, why are you confident? I see the product, but he is very confident on the ball. Whether the pass goes where it's supposed to or not, that's another story. But you see like that pride, that confidence. You see the players there. It just he has to grow into that, I believe.
Yeah, I think it's a little, maybe also a bit of like rose-tinted glasses for us. Obviously, with the Hartford connection, he's gone on 2 loan stints there, and we obviously, it's much easier for us to get out to the Hartford Stadium than it is the NYCFC, and we often would. And then also, let's take into account that we're seeing him in a pool of USL players and not MLS players, which is very different
Vastly
sample
different,
size against him. But in those positions, he did look good, and I guess where my optimism with him comes from is in a pool of players where he is at an average level among the rest of the guys on the field, he can get it done. He can get it done in that position. So I guess that's sort of where my optimism comes. But you're right. The point, or the thing holding him back, is that he's not at the level of the average MLS player that are going to be around him in these games. And hopefully, I think steady minutes he's either going to have to it's going to make or break him if he gets these steady minutes, and we're going to have to see ultimately what happens in that situation.
who is he getting minutes over? Because he's not better than Alfredo Morales. He's not better than Keaton Parks. He's just not better than them.
I just think that he can kind of play, and it would be playing house. Like playing like when you're a kid, you play house, and you got the husband, the wife, the kid. It's all fake, right? But I think he can genuinely play like a Sands type role where he is that person that, like you said earlier, Collins was the one bringing the ball forward. I think he could be that guy that brings the ball forward, but also tucks back into the center backs to help kind of shield the defense.
After seeing his performance at that position against Philadelphia in the most important match of our season last year, you have any confidence that he can play in a back line?
I think so. I think given time, and I think against, picking the right opponent for it too. You're not going to do it against Philly. You're not going to do it against, in these big games, but you can certainly go to like a Chicago and do that for sure.
I mean, I think where he fits in is the 6 role where we have 3 midfielders, and it's Keaton and Alfredo sort of in front of him, and him playing that really far back role. And I think our back line is too busy at the moment with being unsure of who's going to be in it, right? To me, the perfect back 3, if that's what we're going with, is going to be a Tavon, a Chanot, and a Thiago Martins. But aside from that, we would need that solid base of those 3 guys in order to allow Hack to make mistakes, because otherwise it could get ugly. I mean, he could cost goals significantly.
I think we've got to the point of the show where Coach Joe might have been screaming at his car the other day.
Yeah,
we might have reached that point. I mean, I was shocked we got to 50 minutes without really an argument, but we are at that point. So let's hear what you got to say.
I mean, the back line is tough. I mean, because do we play better out of a 3 in the back? Yes. Yep. Do we have the personnel to play out of a 3 in the back right now? Maybe. Is Chanot going to be able to play 34 games this year? 34 plus games this year? Is he going to stay healthy for 34 plus games this year? He is getting older, and he's our last connection to NYCFC 1.0 or 1.5, whatever you want to. Second season he came in.
Yep.
He's been around for a long time. He's been a great ambassador of the club and a great player for the club. But it's not lost on anybody that he's losing some steps. He's not as durable as he was. And I don't think that he's going to be able to I think that's why they brought in Alfaro, because I don't think that he's going to be able to play an entire season without possibly getting injured or just running into a stretch of poor form. Alfaro doesn't breed confidence because he's coming from the wooden spoon winner DC defense that was bleeding goals like it was their job this year. And then also Alfaro was pretty much he's a MLS journeyman. He was on Seattle for a little while, DC for a little while. Can't stick anywhere. Can't get major minutes anywhere except if it's on the worst defense in the league. So that's not exactly a resounding endorsement of his abilities as a professional footballer for this club. I am in the camp. I firmly, I'm sure you see that. I firmly believe that Tavon Gray's best position is at center back. And that's because of he's very strong defensively. And he is weaker going forward. He's not quick. He's not fast. He's not overly athletic in terms of agility and things like that, and just ability to play a ball. Even though he played in a pretty great ball in the LA Galaxy game, I'm not entirely sure he knew where the ball was going because he just came up and kicked it really hard. But it wasn't exactly where it was supposed to go to the in the middle of the field. I firmly believe that I think Tavon's best position is in a 3 in the back at right center back.
I agree.
With a more athletic player playing right wing back like Hellenic, or if we bring in somebody else. If Hack proves this season that he can hang and not have a disaster class like he did against Philadelphia in the most important game of the season, if he can prove that he can fit into that James Sands role where it's like you're a super deep lying 6 destroyer ball player, then I'd be all about that progression. But like him playing as a true midfielder, as a true 6, like in the midfield, I think that he needs help. I think he's going to need an Alfredo Morales there with him to possibly clean up a mistake that he might make.
Yep,
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right that we play our best out of three in the back, and I think our transfer strategy, up until this point, all we've seen is Alenich and Kufre come in. That obviously is also supporting a three in the back play, I think, because if both of those guys with at least the money that we played Alenich might demand that they need to be getting minutes in those roles. And Kufre at least looks very good going forward from what I've seen in highlights. So I think that kind of supports that is most of the time what Cushing is going to want to do. And obviously our past, what we've seen from Cushing also shows that that's what he would like to do if he's able to. But I think we should get into a little bit of prediction. So I'm sure you're as mad as everybody else in the NYCFC community when we start seeing these MLS predictions come out. And I've seen NYCFC as low as 12th. I've seen them in 10th. I've seen them in 9th. And all of these positions are missing the playoffs. I guess whichever way you want to answer it, one, do you see us getting into the playoffs? And then two, do you have a feeling on around what place we're going to be in?
I mean, us getting into the playoffs is gonna be determined by our ability to win games on the road, which NYCFC has historically been very poor at playing on the road during the regular season, at least. So getting results, positive results, ties, wins, not losing every match on the road. Because if you go back and look at previous seasons, the teams that make the playoffs are the teams that can find a way to scrounge multiple victories away from home.
Yep.
So if we can get those wins on the road and win more than our share of home games, and that's depending upon which home game where home is.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, with the way the roster is currently built, if we can, I mean, obviously, I'll have more confidence if we bring in more players. But with what we currently have to deal with right now, I think that NYCFC is in a 6 to 9 position, 6, 7, 8, 9, somewhere in there. Obviously, 8, 9 is out of is not playoff contention.
I think
9
eight is in, 9's out.
Yeah. Yep.
9's out.
Yeah.
So I can see us fighting to be on that line of being a playoff team or not. And then if we have an awesome summer window, then that prediction goes way up.
Yeah.
But if you're talking about today, I say we're in the 6 to 9. We can be anywhere from 6 to 9. I'm getting furious on Twitter seeing people's takes putting us down at 12, 11,
crazy.
10, 13, like even lower. I'm like, what? Like, it's because they hate us.
Yeah.
They hate us because of us winning the cup in 21. They hate us. They see that our roster got decimated, but we still have quality. We still have good players. We still have Keaton Parks, who should be a fringe national team player, but isn't because the managers are scared about his blood clots in his legs. That's why I'm convinced that's why they're not bringing him in, because they don't think he's 100% healthy. We have Alfredo Morales, who back in the day was a men's national team player, and then had a great career in Germany, and is now back home or not home. He never lived. I don't think he ever lived here to begin with. I think when he moved back to New York, that was his first time living in the States. But I mean, he's a good player. I would say Alfredo Morales, if he stays healthy this year, he's a candidate for MLS best starting 11. I think Alfredo Morales is I think that when Alfredo's on the field, we are a much better team. We are more organized. We are better defensively. He's good with the ball, like distributing. I think that if he can find a way to stay healthy this year, that he could be an all MLS starting 11 caliber player.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. If I had to pick a player that is my favorite on the team, now that everybody that I loved prior has taken off, Alfredo would be the guy. If the new kit is pretty enough when I buy a jersey this season, it will be Alfredo, that's for sure. But hopefully we can get some kind of information on what that kit actually looks like, so I could ready the wallet.
Well, I mean, I've seen it. I can tell you that you're going to want to buy at least 2 or 3 of them. So
okay, well,
2 or 3.
2 or 3.
Damn.
They're expensive too, but you're going to want to buy 2 or 3 of them.
Yeah.
Because this is one of those kits where, I mean, I've been having a hard time finding the Bronx Blue kit, the one that we won the championship in.
Yeah.
That one's really hard to find now. I mean, like you can't. It's not really available for sale anywhere. I don't know if they still have it at Yankee Stadium, but this kit is gonna fly like hotcakes. It's a really nice kit, and I'm a kit collector. I don't know if you guys see my Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
That like every now and again I'll post videos or pictures of I have so many NYCFC kits, multiples, long sleeve, short sleeve. This kit is going to be the greatest kit we've had to date. It's a phenomenal.
Better than the black and orange. That's my favorite. That was the peak.
Yeah, that was great. That was a great kit. It's do it justice that we only got to wear it for one.
I know.
For one year.
If we ever did bring a kit back, I feel like it should be that one.
You know what? MLS should do that, like retro kit games where they just
Yeah.
randomly bring back a jersey from, and have like the originals, like have them wear like a Dallas Burn and a Metro Stars and a
Oh, that'd be sick.
Yeah.
and all these other, and then you can let LAFC wear Chivas jerseys.
Well, he was just saying we could wear Cosmos.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be
Yeah.
sick. But I think give you a little bit of your own treatment on the podcast whenever you guys bring on guests. I think I like the way that you always started off where you have them run through their favorite all-time player, their favorite current player, and their favorite kit. So I kind of want to give you that treatment because I'm not sure in your guest episodes that I've heard you answer those questions yet. So who's the favorite all-time Coach Joe player?
I mean, I'm going to catch crap for this, but it's David Villa. I mean, he's the one who made me fall in love with this club, like going and just all the moments. Like I've had a lot of discussions on this and on Twitter and in person and on the pod, and he, don't get me wrong, he's a piece of shit.
Yeah.
He's a dirtbag. He's the lowest form of man. What he did was inexcusable as a human, as a man. But I in my brain, I am able to separate the footballer from the person. And I can't just erase the memories, the joyous memories that he gave to this club and to the fans of him scoring huge goals and awesome moments at Yankee Stadium and away, and the long goal at Philly against Andre Blake. Like, you can't erase those from my memory. Like, those are core memories of my fandom of this club. I mean, it was really shitty the way he left, like with him going to Vissel Kobe and then it all coming out about what he did.
Yeah.
And it angers me thinking about it because like that's a really shitty thing. Like, that's really awful. But like he still is my favorite player for this club because of everything that he did. I mean, Tati got close because Tati provided even better moments. He got us over the hump and got us the cup that's been elusive for 7-8 seasons, or 7 seasons I think before we won.
Yeah.
But yeah, so David Villa, although with baggage included, David Villa.
Heavy baggage, yeah.
And then not to rob the listeners of our answers, who's your favorite all-time?
Yeah, can I do something? Can you guess? Because it's like it's like.
Oh, Poku. Yeah, easily. I mean, this guy, he has like a Poku jersey, a Poku T-shirt with his name on the back of it. You know,
he was my OG favorite player, and I can't tell you why. Because he really, I mean, he's a cult. If he has over 10 goals for us, I'd be surprised.
No, but his goals were big.
Yeah, they were big, and I loved the way that he played. I loved how just his presence on the field. I just loved everything about Poku, and there was times in the beginning where I was like, we should just bring him back. I think I said that for like 2 or 3 seasons. Like, we should.
Yeah, no, I mean, he's been toiling away like in just random clubs in the USL, and then I think he went overseas for a minute to go play somewhere overseas, and I think he's still playing. To be honest with you, I think he's back in the States playing for like somebody in Alabama or something. Like,
yeah, I think the NASL actually, not even the USL.
He's played in Miami. He's played everywhere, and I wish he had stayed with us. So I'd go Poku for sure. The 88 is iconic to me.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. For many reasons.
Yeah.
Yeah. Our old house was 88 during that time that we used to live at. And then I'll go my favorite all time. Has to be Collins, I guess. It has to be Collins. I was gonna say Tony Rocha because he's up there too.
Roach.
But I would have to say Collins.
I mean, the Roach is still my Twitter.
Do you prefer high and tight Collins or do you prefer Afro Collins?
Afro Collins was iconic.
It was a vibe, but I'll go high and tight Collins because high and tight Collins was the one that scored the penalty that we were there for in New England, and then obviously the Portland one, which I think all of us will remember forever.
Yeah, the mature Collins, which I don't know. I do. We never really talked about it formally, but I really, really, really want to go to Spain and see all of them play together with Herrera, Collins, and Tati.
Better go soon because Tati's not going to be there for long.
I know it's got to be soon.
And then favorite current player, if there's any left for you to choose from.
So I think when I did the very first episode of me having the boys on, I answered this, and I think I said Gabi Pereira is my favorite current player, but. I mean, is he even a current player? Because is he ever coming back? Is he? Are they going to think like whose job is it to get this visa, and why is it not happening faster? Why is this process not expedited for a professional athlete? Is he coming back ever? But also, I mean, I would say maybe it's like a 1A, 1B situation with Alfredo Morales.
Yeah, that's mine too.
I would go Tavon.
Okay.
Just,
Wow.
just I love his attitude. Going back to who was it? Benteke,
Yeah.
where he's just screaming bozo at him. Like I just love that energy. I think he brings like everything that was like when you picture New York. I feel like he embodies that, and I feel like I love that. I love his attitude. I love everything. I think once he starts to be better as a player, he's easily gonna be an NYCFC legend.
For me, for favorite player of all time, 1A, 1B, 1B would be Tinnerholm. Tinnerholm was so much fun to watch.
Yeah.
Tinner Boom.
Tinner Booms, him getting his token yellow card for like punching the air and screaming in the ref's face. You knew it was coming. Like once there was like a questionable call, you knew Tinnerholm was just going to get really in the ref's face and like uppercut the air and just start screaming and stuff. And you knew he was going to need a yellow card for it. But yeah, Tinnerholm was awesome to watch.
So then, aside from the new kit that we've all yet to see, what is your favorite kit of all time?
So I think when I answered on the pod, I think I said this one. This one's not a fan favorite. Part of the reason is because it's pretty much a cut and paste template from the Colombia and Argentina World Cup jerseys. Collins,
Same answer.
Yeah. So this one, it fits the best. Like I don't know, it just fits the best. It feels the best. The sleeves are the right length. I like the gray with the city blue.
Yep.
I love it. I have like 4 of these. I love them.
Oh yeah, I do have to flex when we say Collins. Obviously, I called him out as my favorite player. And then before he took off, I was able to get it signed, which was, one of the happiest moments. It was really cool to meet him.
My question is, do you have his Jordan jersey yet?
I do not know.
Oh, you gotta get it. I got it in. I got it in last week.
Oh yeah, I saw you post it. It does look slick. It looks really good.
I was literally stalking their social medias to see if I can find in a video a glimpse of the number he was being given, because I was like, as soon as I know what number, I'm ordering the jersey.
Yeah, those yellow red stripe ones are sick. They're crazy.
Yeah.
They remind me of McDonald's in a good way. Way, because we abuse that.
So what's your kit?
Kit, I feel like I answered. It was the black and orange.
Yeah.
Is just iconic to me. It's like you were saying, the core memory. If I had to pick a 1B, I'd probably pick the other black kit with the circles on it. As my number 2. With that, I think they called it the Pulse. Was it the Pulse?
Yeah,
kit?
where it all. Yeah, I know what you mean.
That one.
Which one?
The blue and orange, where it kind of had like rings coming out from around the badge.
Do you mean the Hypno kit?
The Hypno kit, yeah.
Okay, I thought they called it Pulse or something.
That's not black. That's blue. It's blue with the.
It was dark to me. I don't.
Yeah, it's the Hypno kit. It looks like someone dropped a rock in a puddle and then it kind of like vibrates out of it.
Yeah, that one. I like that one. I just picture like Pirlo and the boys in it, and it was just, I love that one.
Yeah. And then to wrap it up, we've been making everybody run through the over under ringer, so that at the end of the season we could hold you accountable in the form of clips in September. Not really, but
with the context that it is the 9th of February at 8:46. Not that we're gonna make any deals, but with that context.
So we'll throw out some numbers with some categories, and then just let us know whether you're over or under on it. So total team points, 49.5.
Over.
I'm over as well.
I'm not answering again.
All right.
Sticking by my last answers.
Clean sheets, 6.5.
Over.
Tales goals, 12.5.
Under.
GP goals, 9.5.
Over.
And Thiago goals, 6.5. Andrade.
Important distinction.
I don't think Michael Allen was sure.
What was the number?
6.5.
Over.
Man, everybody's making me think we should have had the lines higher because everybody's going over with all these.
Yeah.
I think. Are we talking just MLS regular season or all?
Just regular season.
Yeah, I mean, so what? There's 34.
Yeah.
Regular season games. I don't think Thiago's gonna be much over that. I think he might score like 7, 8. I think GP's gonna have like closer to 15. I think Thiago's gonna. Did I go over on Thiago? What was Thiago's line?
6.5. You went over.
Sorry, Talis Magno.
Oh, 12.5. You went under.
I said under.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're gonna have 2 players scoring double digits. It's gonna be Talis Magno and Gabriel Pereira, and I think Gabi's gonna have more, but I think that they're both gonna be in double digits. So.
Cool. Yeah. Well, I think that about does it. I mean, I had a ton of fun bringing you on the show. Totally, weren't sure what to expect after all the, talking to each other on Twitter and everything. But I think it's good to bring people into our usual echo chamber of just sharing each other's thoughts back and forth, agreeing on everything, getting different perspectives and helping share it out with everybody.
Twitter's tough because you can't get like my voice and my content. I get mad, like I get angry and I angry tweet or whatever. And like I get into it with NYCFC source because sometimes he just pisses me the fuck off.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm not like this asshole. I'm knowledgeable and I can like spit out like coherent thoughts and not just be a jerk. And I everyone has their own opinions and I have strong opinions and I accept other people's opinions. Sometimes I believe that they're wrong, but they're allowed to have them.
I think it's good to have your show going and get that voice to the opinion and get the fully explained thoughts out, because I think it helps a lot with people not just reading a text and not getting the emotion, not getting, obviously feeling the passion, because you can see the passion in the text, but you can't feel the passion like when you're speaking.
Yeah.
So I think it's super important. I think it's super cool. And the more the merrier in the space in terms of people getting on mics and, scream until their face is red. I think it's perfect.
Yeah, and I think what anchors all of us is obviously an extreme love for the club. Maybe sometimes, too much. But I'm looking forward to potentially linking up at a game with you, saying what's up in person, and hopefully seeing a W, because that's what you got to have.
Yeah, definitely a W and a beer, maybe a chicken bucket.
And I called in last night to NYCFC Forever, had like a little like radio hotline phone number thing going on where you call in and they ask you some questions, and the guys said that like they're gonna host like a podcast get together for all the NYCC pod people. They kind of get together and just shoot the shit and talk and drink and shit. So.
Yeah, that'd be sick. Well,
yeah,
maybe we'll make it out there.
Yeah, and maybe this is the point where we clickbait something and we're like, "No, you're an idiot. What are you talking about?" I can't even fake the emotion. But yeah, it was great having you on, and we'll see you guys next week.
Yeah, peace.
Yeah, and keep doing what you guys do. I try to listen to all the NYC Blue City Radio. You guys, City Boys, haven't put out one this year yet, but I'm. If you guys are checking your stats on Apple Podcasts and stuff, just know that I'm one of the listeners that I listen, even though it pisses me off and I'm white knuckling the steering wheel and yelling at my windshield when someone says something positive about Tavon Gray playing right back. I do enjoy your guys' content and listening into whatever you guys have to say, and your guests are awesome. So keep it up.
Awesome, thank you.
Who was it? It was here we go. We're gonna waffle a little bit, but I think it was Sway in the morning. He'd have people call in and be like, "Sway, what are you mad about?" Like that was the thing.
Yeah.
And so I feel like maybe once a week we'll just get Coach Joe on. It's like, "Coach Joe, what are you mad about?" What did we say?
Oh man, thank God I wasn't coming on during the Medina years, because Medina drove me up a freaking wall. Like the fact that he was
this
constantly.
Dude was Medina's number one. He is the biggest Medina supporter at the club.
I think I still have to buy his jersey by proxy.
I wish him nothing but misery in Russia. I hate it.
All right. Well, obviously follow Coach Joe at Coach Joe on Twitter. You could check him out on Apple Pods, Coach Joe Uncensored, although he leaked to us that they may be doing a little rebranding, so look out for that. And then at Post 90 Pod, pretty much everywhere you can find us. Twitter, YouTube has handles now, TikTok, Instagram, all that. And we'll catch you guys in the next one.
Peace.
See ya.
Peace.